Hey, Mitch.
Hey, yo, Keith, how are you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm
Flip over
rocking.
them sands of time.
Sands of time.
They're clipping away.
If you just listen to our audio, you don't get
You're
to
missing
see
out.
the sand timer that we frequently use but then ignore constantly to try to time the episode. So
Well, it's kind of a drone-on timer.
it is. It's almost like, hey, move along. Like this portion is dead, right? Anyway, so what are we talking about today, Mitch? What are we going to talk about?
We're talking about change.
Oh, man. One thing you can guarantee in life, change.
Yeah, and I'm okay with change, but there's certain changes I don't like. Or I don't get to
Tell me one.
Well, like, I don't know.
Like detours on the road, you got to
like
change your driving
seasons.
habit.
You know,
I like seasons.
There's certain points in life where I'm like, I love seasons. But then I realize, no, I really just like those really perfect parts of each season.
The cold
right?
one.
No.
See, we're opposite. I'm a winter fan.
Ugh.
So I could go fall, winter, spring, fall, winter, spring. Like you could just you could just stop
and I'm
somewhere.
a daylight fan.
Ooh.
But I'm not like a whole lot of daylight fan. I don't know that like you get up above the Arctic Circle where there's like, 20 hours of daylight.
yeah.
I don't know that
Yeah.
I could handle that. Like, I'm kind of an equatorial guy. I like a good 12-12. Good split.
Yeah, I don't like the summertime here where the sun's up at like 5 a.m. and then doesn't go down to like 9:30 or something crazy, right? Like that's a little too much light for me. But
I like that.
no, I'm not a big fan.
I don't like the darkness.
So I do like seasonal changes. But what you were going to tell me something that you didn't like change wise in your life? What happens that
Seasons.
changes? Oh, you don't like
just-
seasons. You just want it to be
like the time
same.
change. The time change.
I know the time change
Like
drives you crazy.
Why are we changing time?
Yeah. I think
Pick
we
a
talked about
time.
this several times before.
I know. But that infuriates me.
Yeah.
So angry.
I know. I don't like detours, road detours. There's certain ways I like to get places, right? And especially when my wife, who listens to the podcast and will hit me for this, but she'll be like, why'd you take that way? Why don't you go this way? And I'm like, well, because this is the way that I like to go. And she's like, yeah, but it's longer to get there. And I'm like, I don't care if it's longer to get there. You know what I mean? Like, I just like the roads that I like to take.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because I'm avoiding like the downtown here, the main strip here in Kearney.
Yep.
Sometimes it's because I don't want to avoid it. I want to see what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, so there's certain ways and places and, how I like to go especially mood wise, and so I don't like detours.
And I
have to go different.
I do
way.
like open roads.
Yeah. Well,
Like the wide, like
yeah.
like I'll go the long way round.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go like a long way around because I just haven't seen a small town in a while, right? And so I'm like, oh, I want to go see, like, perfect example. Like, if we're going, sometimes I'll go over to Smithville and then head into the city because I just haven't been. I want to see what's going on. I want to see if
Haven't been
anything's
caught in
opened
a
up.
road closure in a while.
Yeah, So sometimes you just want to see what's happening. So yeah, that's I don't like to be restricted on how I get places. Mm-hmm. I think most Americans would agree with that.
Oh yeah.
Road detours are probably well disliked. So yeah, so change.
But things change. Everything changes.
Everything changes.
All the time.
Yeah, tons of life changes, even small ones that you don't think about. Like when you're in school, you get a new teacher every year. Then you maybe you get a substitute one day. Your life is constantly changing. And I think that's interesting because I think most people, we talked about last week. You can tune in last week if you haven't heard it. But we were saying life is like baseball. It's generally boring with some spurts of excitement. So I think some people get trapped in that, like, oh, I'm just doing the same thing every day. Well, you're really not. It's you can say, oh yeah, I'm just taking the kids to school. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But in reality, everything's constantly changing in your environment.
Yeah, what Marcus Aurelius said, man can't step in the same river twice.
Did he say that?
Mm-hmm. I think so. But he might have been quoting another philosopher.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so
But
change.
I'm gonna quote Marcus Aurelius on that.
Yeah, go for it.
If you're a Stoic and you want to fact check me on that, go for it.
So, obviously, the big things about changes in life are like the I would say the more impactful ones, like where you maybe lose a job or you get out of a relationship, or so the big changes in life.
Yeah, I think in small group terminology, I know we've used those as pivotal circumstances.
Oh, I like that phrase.
Yeah, pivotal circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Where your life is really taking a moment of change, right? So really, how do you? I guess I should ask you first. How do you navigate? What would you say, during these life changes? What maybe 2 or 3 things help you stay connected to God and not just necessarily focusing on that change, but staying connected to God so that He can help you through that change?
Yeah, and I do like how our lay speaker Teresa Brent put it last Sunday with prayer, community, just surrounding yourself with
People.
faithful Christians, and then serving. And I think that serving is huge. It's a changes your perspective, and probably put you in situations for more providential encounters.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think that I don't think that we do enough serving in general as myself. I'll just say myself, right? But I think most people probably are in that same boat. You get busy with life, and so serving other people becomes for me really freeing and relaxing, because I'm not focused on myself, right? And what's going on with me. I'm able to focus on something external of me.
You know what I like to do that's worked out a little bit here recently too is I try to not run on such tight margins, because I've gotten in this habit of just no extra time on things. I run myself right up to stuff, and so if I can get a little extra, because I am such I'm a hurry up and wait guy. Like if I need to be somewhere, I'm always 15 minutes early.
Yep, same.
And I always like to be ready to go 15 minutes before I need to leave,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
2 things I've been trying to do is use those times once I'm ready, but I'm not leaving for another 10 minutes. Use those times effectively for things.
Okay.
I think prayer life could fit in there, because I am a hurry up and wait guy. Well, while I hurry up, not a great opportunity for prayer. But while you're waiting, I could squeeze some more personal prayer life in there. But then when I'm on my arriving early schedule, I know I'm going to be early. So that helps me. That can help me use that time appropriately. Also, there's a guy this morning, hood up, steam rolling out from underneath the truck, pulling him a trailer. I just pull over there, roll the window down. Hey, bud, need some help? Everybody's got a cell phone. He was pretty good to go.
Yeah.
Got the thumbs up, drove off.
Yeah.
But if I needed an extra 10 minutes to,
get out and give him some advice.
Yeah. To give him a water bottle, pour it in the radiator, we used to do.
Yeah, I like that.
Bake in a little extra time for opportunities to help people.
Yeah. Or even just surround yourself with people. If you show up early, talk to some people that are there that are also early.
Here's a fun one. Just take somebody's cart back to the back for them.
I love that.
Except unless you're at Aldi, and then it's like you're trying to get a quarter. Then you're looking for a tip.
I do the quarter change, right?
I
got my quarter. I'm headed back to the car, and you're like, "Hey, I'll take that for you. Here, have my quarter." And then you just take that one back to the car.
I was at Aldi the other day, and there was like 5 carts,
dude,
that weren't clicked back in,
I
but they
know.
weren't stuck back together either. You know what I mean? They weren't nested. You know how the carts nest,
Yeah.
so you could nest the cart, but they were all discombobulated.
Discombobulated. Yeah.
So like
That happened to me too. It was
I
3
spent
cards.
the time to re-nest them, but then I was like,
Got $1.25
there's a
for that.
dollar laying here.
Yeah.
But I don't want a dollar. Yeah, these were left behind for a reason, and I'm not going in. I just came out.
Why do you think they were left behind? I think they were left behind for a reason because people just felt like it wasn't worth a quarter to them to get to fix it. You know what I mean? But whereas to me, it's always worth a quarter to fix it.
Well, yeah, because I need that quarter for next time.
I mean, I'm the kind of guy that sees a penny on the ground and I pick it up. Even though you can't, you need a lot of pennies to buy something these days. But like, I see it on the ground, I'm picking it up. You know, I think that's why change things are so popular, you know, where it's like the donation or whatever. You go to the grocery store and they're like, hey, feed hungry people or whatever, right? Like, and then, you know, if you pay cash, get the change, you're just like, I don't want this in my pocket. And you just put the change in. I see that happen a lot. I think that's probably why they're popular.
Yeah.
People don't respect change anymore as much.
Completely unattended, but we're using 2 different definitions of the word change here. And
well, that's right.
So anyway,
Money
I want to
change,
call
yeah.
somebody new. I want to call. So we haven't talked to Grammy in a while, but
We haven't talked to Grammy in a while.
I know, but we're gonna call my cousin Caleb.
This is Caleb.
Hey, Caleb. This is Mitch.
Hey,
your cousin.
Hey, Mitch, what's going on?
And this is my buddy Keith, and you're on the Layman's Term Show.
hey, Caleb.
All right, I'm live.
Live on
you're
the air.
Live on the air in a pre-recording fashion. Hey, you know
Yeah,
you know whose birthday was yesterday?
Yesterday, June 11th.
Yeah.
Who?
It was Ethan's. But guess
Yeah, okay.
guess whose else it was? It was Keith's birthday.
Yeah, it was my birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Keith.
Yeah, that Mitch always remembers because
Wow. Because I think
Because
I've
of that
known
day.
that less than a year. So, so anyway, welcome to the show. We like to kick around things and discussion topics. We're talking about change, and we're talking about
life change, not the change in your pocket.
yeah, not well. Actually, we did end up talking about change in your pocket. Are you a cash guy?
A cash guy?
Yeah. Do you like cash? And if you like cash,
Oh, yeah,
do you like change?
Yeah, let me tell you. So, speaking of change, you know how all of our cards have those chips and they can all do tap to pay and stuff now these days. Well, my card can't. And it does have the chip though in it, and it works for about a month or two, and then it just like, I don't know if it scrapes off in my wallet or what, but then it stops working. I have to get a new card. It seems like every 2 months now. So because of that, and I just got so fed up with it, I just started taking out cash at the ATM and just, you know, keeping $60 in my pocket or whatever for the daily needs. And trying to rely less on the card.
So your daily needs of aggravating people by offering them cash.
Well, I know it seems like cash should be more reliable, but that isn't always true.
No, there's a lot of places that won't take it.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. There's a lot of places that won't take it. I always keep some cash in my wallet because you just never. At least I grew up in the time where you never knew if somebody didn't take a credit card, right? Or
Yeah, exactly.
you know, or I don't know. You need a tow truck, and they're like, we're cash only or something. That's happened at least twice in my life. So I've always kept it, but it seems now it's like the opposite, where they're like, no cash, card
Yep.
only, especially in the grocery store.
And Maddie and I even went to an art festival a couple weeks ago. You know, it's an outdoor festival. Everyone's in tents and stuff. So I was thinking to myself, I need to get a bunch of cash out so that we'll be able to have some spending money at the festival. And then we get there and half of them aren't even taking cash. They're all cards and, Venmo. But
Not as
I
good
don't know.
as cash.
I like cash. Having something tangible is easier to be responsible with, I feel like.
I fully agree. So what about change in general, not monetary change? How do you feel about just change? Are you a guy do you like change? Do you welcome change or
I mean, you know, the older I get, the less I probably embrace it. You know, 15 years ago, I was all gung-ho about wanting to change everything. And then, you know, as time passed, I feel like I got more comfortable with the way things are somehow. And or started to see the merits of or the reasons why some things are the way they are. And also realizing kind of how little I know, and how maybe I don't always have, I see so much around me. There's always a dissonance between the way things are and the way things ought to be in your mind, and so you think, well, what should I change? How should I change it? And then once you do try to start changing it, that's when you realize, oh, okay, so this is why this was like that, or oh, this is why it hasn't changed in so long. And so I don't know. I'm very on the fence with change, I guess, at this point in my life.
That's a good perspective.
I like that.
Because I tell a story about like when I was 20 years ago, and I'm working at a university, I'm mowing the grass, and
Right.
I'm getting a computer graphic design degree. Okay. So I'm on my day job, I'm cutting grass. On my schooling, I'm designing things with a computer with like zip disks and
Zip disk.
Yep.
and on these large desktop, Mac. There was no mini about anything back then. Computers, and I wasn't savvy with them. I had no kind of computer design, computer experience. I had no previous Mac experience, because that's literally what all they were for there. Probably pre or right about iPhone Gen 1 stuff, right? Like, I don't even know that people had Macs in their pockets. Anyway, and probably a lot of times it was user error, and I would screw something up and I couldn't undo it, and I couldn't go back, or I'd just lose a whole project. And so I was furious about the technological side of things, because I could do hours of work and then a momentary mistake and it's gone.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was mowing grass, you can't mow for 3 hours and then it's instantly 6 inches tall again. It's not possible, right?
And if you cut it too short, you just wait a little while.
Exactly, right? So I had this perspective for 15 years of that perspective, right? For the last 15 years, I've been like, it's just the like the mistake and the unreversibility of like some of this stuff is so much worse than like the real tangible world, like you're talking about with cash and money, like building something out of wood, or the real tangible world doesn't have that disappearing act like the digital world does. But then this spring it's been raining a lot, right? And I still have a yard to mow, and then I'm like, it's futile. The grass keeps growing, right? There isn't a solution. There isn't a stop. There isn't a fix. Grass. So it really, like Caleb said, as you age, it changes your perspective on stuff. Because when I did finish that 3-hour job of whatever, mowing that I did 20 years ago, well, I was flawed in my thinking of it can't be, it's just on a different timeline. It will be. It will be ready again for a futile round of work.
Yeah, and I'm sure you thought sometimes with like when you were using the computer and the program, you're like, they really need to do this differently. This program needs to change, right?
Oh yeah.
But it's really not the program's fault, it's you.
It's my fault.
You need
it's always
change,
my fault.
Not the program, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny how when we started talking about change, instantly what we jumped to was technology, right? It seems like that. Yeah, that's like the main driver of change in our lives right now.
I was listening to a great plug in another podcast. I was listening to a great podcast. You'll find this interesting, Caleb. They're talking about how actually the app-based, the technology, how everything's the communication side of stuff it's all under the guise of making things easier. When in all actuality, it makes it more complicated.
I say that every time my card would mess up at the grocery store or something, I would always joke to the cashier or whatever. I'd be like, they say technology makes our lives easier, blah, blah, blah. Or anytime I see things like that, I love to point out the promise of technology has not been fulfilled.
Yeah, it's like work. It's like working and having like text messages and emails and phone calls and all these things at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And you can say, "Oh man, I would not be able to do this.
Be as productive.
I would not be able to do what I do without this technology." But the reason we're also able to pivot and operate at such a zero tolerance, high anxiety, the reason we're able to operate like that is because of all those abilities to make changes that probably aren't even necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Keith was working yesterday on a video edit thing, and we were back and forth. We were back and forth 15 minutes, 3 different times on it. When in all actuality, if it would have just been, if we didn't have each other's contact at our fingertips, you would have just reviewed the final product later and made the changes once.
Yeah, I think so yesterday I took my youngest, who's 5, to a doctor's appointment, right? And it's a large facility that that we're in. Well, anyway, so we get in there and we're getting checked in, and then the lady's like, "Oh my gosh, my computer's frozen. Have a seat. We'll wait until it unfreezes," right? And there's just like a 20-minute thing just to get checked into the system so that the doctor knew
that you were there.
That we were there, right? And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, couldn't you just pull the curtain that separates you and the other room and be like, "Hey, these people are here." Now, like the lobby is filled with people that are like 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, and it's like 10 o'clock, and none of us are in there. So it's just like backed up the complete day. But in the same terminology, and thinking about this, had they just had the appointment calendar in a book, right? Mm-hmm. Think of how ineffective that would be if somebody called in, wanted to cancel an appointment, and they got to erase it, right? Flip through the calendar to find, so obviously the technology helps us in one way, but then is detrimental when it does. Like, it's like people don't know how to cope or function when ABC doesn't work exactly the way that it should.
Right.
Well, Caleb,
I think that
go ahead.
we've also been kind of sold technology under this glistening kind of like cure-all for all of like the ailments of life in general. It's supposed to make everything easier, like we were talking about. And I think that.
And I often side with you. I often side with you on that, Caleb. We're very similar in that way, except I have a tech guy. It's Keith.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just need to, outsource my anger.
Yeah. So, hey, Caleb, we were talking about all these life changes and how sometimes significant life changes not only can impact your life, but you can challenge your faith. We've talked a little bit in the past about you haven't lived much if your faith hasn't been challenged much.
Right.
And we've also talked about, we came out of this week talking about 3 things we can do to help when change in our life kind of gets us rattled. And I'm going to give you these 3. You be introspective on them for a minute and then share your thoughts. Prayer life, a personal prayer life. If less, you can be less affected by the change. It's something you feel like you can do. Whenever there's nothing you can do. You can always pray. And then community, having a faith community around you, having folks that you can interact with that are of the
supportive, you can lean on,
and of the Christian faith with you is helpful. And then also, we've talked about, this is one of our favorites too, is serving others. So whenever you've been rattled, finding somebody that you can serve takes your attention from being so inward, and puts it outward in a positive way. So, any hot takes on those 3?
Oh man, let's see here. Well, you were talking about, what was that last one again? Could you say that one more time?
Serving others.
Yeah. So, I've been. You said at the end of that one, you said,
Sometimes when your life situations you get a little rattled, you can if you turn the focus from less inward and more creating outward good around you, it can change your perspective.
So one instance I can think of that happened to me relatively recently was actually, and it's church related too, is when I did get involved with the praise band with our local church here, which is the church that I grew up in, Nelson Memorial United Methodist.
Shout out all the Nelson Memorial listeners. Smash that subscribe button.
But I hadn't been really going. I hadn't gone to church much. I mean, I had gone here and there, of course, for holidays and, a few times here and there when I was living in the city 5 or 6 years ago. And mostly just whenever I was feeling down and felt like I needed like a community or just to be around people or whatever. But when I moved back to Columbia like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was, working at Shakespeare's doing my Columbia thing, and then Mom calls me and says, "Hey, would you be interested in coming over to Boonville and working with the praise band with us and playing guitar and singing and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? I've got time and I like to sing." But I didn't really realize how much they were hurting for help. They needed someone to sing, they needed someone to play. And it was such like, I know that I helped them by, filling that hole or whatever, but the amount of confidence that I gained out of it, and just not just confidence, but just like the way it boosted my self-esteem at the time. Cause I was kind of in a rut at the time, not really doing much. And Maddie and I were both just kind of looking for some direction.
It put some of your strengths to work in a way that served others, and that's fulfilling.
Yeah.
So
and that was fulfilling, but it also got a ball rolling that then turned into, me renting an apartment from one of the guys that's in the praise band, moving back to Boonville, doing, I am where I am now, probably because I went to praise band that one Thursday.
That really ties into.
And there's so many stories like that I know from family and friends of people that are in a tough spot, whether it's a job loss or whether it's whatever. And instead of them finding a job through submitting 100 applications and resumes, they go out and they go and help somebody. And they're like, "Oh, what are you doing these days, or whatever? Oh, you need to talk to this person or that person," and they get connected in with somebody, and the next thing you know, they got a better job than what they had before because they just went and helped somebody with something instead of focusing on themselves. There's so many stories like that out there.
Yeah, and just the way that society has become a lot more alienated, and it's. I do feel like the church community is one of those last kind of harbors of community, pure community, where you go and just, you're around people once a week, every week.
Consistency.
And that's the way that that consistency in being around someone is all it takes to create good connections, friendships, all those structures that humans have had for God knows how long. And it's all just kind of changed in the last, 50 years.
Yeah.
And that's culture. Yeah. Culture. Society is.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is when you're in this online persona all the time, you're becoming less. You're treating other people with less patience, right, and with less understanding
because of the on-demand world.
Because of the on-demand world. But when you're in front of somebody and you see them week after week after week after week, and you get connected to them, and so you can tell when they're having a bad day. You can tell when something's going on. So if they're gruff with you in the moment or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, you broke up there for a sec.
Oh. Well, so it's like, you build that connection, you build that community, and so you have some more patience for stuff, and people have more patience with you. I'm not saying I'm the happiest guy all the time, right? So, but when you're in that community, it just, you help each other out.
And people who are co-present, that are in the same space at the same time communicating, you do communicate differently with them than you do with someone over email or on a forum or something.
And even body language, like the empathy, your ability to process all those nonverbal cues that we give each other constantly is, I'm going to say, you're 100% more effective in person, in IRL.
Yeah, there
Look
you
at
go.
you there.
Look, old man.
Look, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's no cap there.
No cap.
Oh gosh. Are you I was trying to think of a good way to use the word Riz, but
I
don't.
You have it, Caleb, and that's why we called you.
Oh, that's right. I got it.
You got it, and that's why you're on. This is the Layman's Term Show, and is with my Rizzy cousin Caleb. and what? That's exactly how you use it.
I know. It's just such a weird word.
I know.
I used it appropriately, and we'll put that in the subject line so we get more hits on the show.
For sure.
Sure.
We're going to get so many views from that one word.
It'll be awesome. Hey, Caleb, I appreciate you coming on here, and we will, I can guarantee you're going to be such a great hit with the listeners that we will have you back. Well, you'll be right up there.
Man.
You'll be right up there with Grammy in no time.
Awesome. All
right.
I usually work till like noon or 1, so you might have to adjust your schedule a little bit for me.
We will. Well, we'll try to give you more heads up.
Awesome, man. No, I love doing this, and I can't wait to be back.
All right, brother.
Have a good one. Love you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it. That's it for the show.
Hey, Sands of Time ran out.
If you made it this far in the show,
mash that subscribe button.
You might as well subscribe and like it.
If you're from that Memorial Church or wherever in Boonville,
I'm gonna at you guys.
Yeah.
So just be prepared. Leave a comment. Tell everyone how Caleb did.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear him on the show again.
Yeah, and maybe we can do a conference call. We'll get him and Grammy.
Oh man, that would be fun.
Because you know what they do a lot?
Tell each other jokes.
Duets.
What?
Yeah,
really?
Pretty good.
All right. Man. Later.
Bye.